Hi friends, I'm Amy and this is A-Star Reads, and it's time for the game of a bookish life. So I'm really excited. I love my TBR game. I love creating TBRs. Even when I don't stick to them, I still love creating them. And March is no different because we're getting into spring. I have a lot of things going on in March, including the end of my school term. So I think I'm gonna get a lot accomplished this month reading wise, but I don't know why I'm thinking that because I'm also coming up on finals in the next few weeks. So it's like, you're a little crazy, Amy. But I have hopes. And I also have hopes the week between school to get a very cool, fun, secret TBR going, which means that that's going to eat into my time quite a bit for reading as well. So we're going to see how March goes. I'm not going to put any expectations on it. Oh, and there's also a ton of readathons. And as much as I said I wasn't going to do any readathons during school, I lied. I'm a liar. So I'm going to be doing readathons as well. And before I forget about that, I'm actually going to do my readathon TBR because I'm going to be participating in quite a few. I'll do that in a separate video. So that'll be coming out on the 1st of March, we hope. If you're curious what readathons I'm participating in and what books I decide to use for the prompts for that, check out that video when it comes out. And yeah, I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know what I'm thinking in March. For some reason, I think I am a superhero. Editing Amy here. So I completely forgot to mention that I go over the rules of this game in a video that I put out in January. So if you want to know everything there is to know about this game, I'm not going to talk about it in this video. You could probably follow along, but if you'd like to know the extensive rules, I will link that video up here and down the description box below. So before we get into our rules, first let's talk about how January actually ended up, because I said there was a chance I would have to take a certain number of punishments now in March for January, and that is true. I have to take 3 punishments. Of the 4 books I chose for the game of bookish life in January, I only started 1 and read 1. So, well, actually I haven't even finished that one yet, but I got far enough. I'm still reading it. January was not a success. So I'm going to be taking 3 punishments in this game, which means that my first 3 rolls in the game of bookish life are going to be where I move backwards in the game. Also, if I end up landing on any of the green spots that say Koi Cup or Challenge, I will have to take the challenge, which is basically all the books on my physical TBR that I want to read at some point, but I'm not as excited to read them right now. So I want to quickly recap what happened in my February TBR. For my first spin, I ended up picking a book card, and it was the oldest book on my TBR, meaning the book that I've had on my TBR the longest, and that was Stiff by Mary Roach. I have not started this. And yeah, this one's been on my TBR so many times. This is one of the books I've owned the longest. And yeah, it hasn't happened. I don't know if it's going to happen because we only have a few days left in the month. But I made the choice. I made the choice to throw my TBR out the window for a few days. And it means that I'm probably not going to get to this one. So I may have to take a punishment for this in April. We'll see. The second spin I did was a sad book. And for this one, I chose They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. And I did read this. Look at that. Look at that. I read one of the books to completion. I finished this one. That was from my game, so that's exciting. The third spin, I ended up on a stop sign, and that was a book about love, romance, or prominent relationship. And I decided to go with City of Bones by Cassandra Clare because this is the Bookstar read-alongs book for February, and I started it. And I won't have to take a punishment for this one because I'm going to continue reading this over the next couple of days, and my goal was have to at least read 100 pages into it to not take a punishment before the end of the month. And so I will have read 100 pages. I'm at 98 right now. So yeah, I'll have read 100 pages before the end of the month. And I have to get this one done by March 4th anyways. So if you want to join us for the live show discussion of this book on March 4th, I will link that up here and down in the description box below. Finally, I did not pass stop. I ended up having to pick another book that was about a love, romance, or prominent relationship, and that was Reflection by Elizabeth Lim. This is one of the Disney Twisted Tales. I have not started this. And again, this is probably another one that I won't be able to start. If by chance I can get through 100 pages of this before the 28th, then I won't have to take a punishment for this. But I don't know. So we'll find out in April again with this one. It went better this month. It went better. I'm not doing a great job keeping myself accountable for these game rolls. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping to start this one. I do need to read it. So I'm kind of hoping that it all depends on this guy. All right, so in February, I ended off the game here at Love, Romance, or Prominent Relationship. Unfortunately, I have 3 punishments this round, so I will be going backwards for 3 whole moves. I hope I don't end up back at start. Chances are likely that I will end up quite a ways back. So before I get started, I have 2 tallies on 2, 3, 6, and 7. So most likely I won't get an extra roll this time for that, unless I roll one of those numbers 3 times. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Spin number 1. Remember, I'm moving backwards. Let's see where I'm going to go. 3. Okay, not too far back. 1, 2, 3. Sad book, of course, because I didn't get enough sadness last month. All right, so as you saw, that first backwards roll wasn't too painful. It was only 3 spaces, and I ended up on sad book, which I got last time around. So I guess this is the period of going through books that make me feel things. And it actually worked out really well because I'm going to be reading Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb that month anyways, this giant book. Robin Hobb is known for being one of the saddest writing authors. She writes everything sad. All of the characters face hardships. Nobody gets away with anything in any of her books. And so I can pretty much guarantee there's going to be something that is sad, or many, many, many some things that are sad in this book. So this is the 6th book in the Realm of the Elderlings overall series that Robin Hobb does, but then it's also the 3rd book, the final book in the Life Ship Trader series. So I'm very excited about this because I loved the first book. Ship of Magic was one of my favorite books, and then Mad Ship I really, really loved as well. So I'm hoping that this is going to be the perfect final book, and then we get to find out what happens to all these different characters. So much has gone on in these books that it's really hard to explain to you what this series is about. But the Live Ship Traders in general is about these ships that are made out of wizard wood. And this wizard wood, after 3 members of a trader family has died on the ship, the wood takes on a life of its own. Like, it actually becomes sentient and it can start talking. It can basically run the ship in a sense. We're learning more about these ships, one particular family, a couple of families actually, trader families that have to do with these live ships. And then there's like pirates, and there's a lot of politics in this. So it's a fantastic series, but it's definitely sad. It has many, many sad moments. So this works perfectly for sad book. Spin number 2, still going backwards. 7, all right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What are they reading? Ooh, I'm so excited about this. I put a ton of booktubers' names in here. Booktubers I follow regularly, booktubers I have recently found. And basically what I'm doing is I'm going to pick one of their favorite books. Okay, I'm going to go with this one. Who is it? John! Hey, y'all, listen up. Oh, I have a feeling I'm going to be reading something by Piers Anthony for this one. All right, spin number 2 was really exciting because it was the very first time that I've landed on What Are They Reading, which is one of my new updates to my board. And this is basically where I take a whole bunch of booktubers and I pick one from the pot, my little I'll crate pot, and I see what they love. So like I look to see what some of their favorite books were from the past year or any previous years from that, or if I just know what their reading taste is, some of their favorite books that I've heard them talk about many, many times, I can choose to read that. So my very first time ever getting to do this, I picked John from Hey Y'all Listen Up, and John is such a fun booktuber that I found quite a while ago. He has a very fun, dry sense of humor, is very good with a quick review, can give you his opinion very, very succinctly. And so I knew that if I picked John from the pot, I couldn't get away with not reading a Piers Anthony. And so of course I chose the first book in the Apprentice Adept series, which is one of John's favorite series from Piers Anthony. And this is, look at this cover. I think there's quite a few books in each series. I don't know exactly how many, but I think there's quite a few. And this is about a guy named Style, and he is a surf and gamesman on this planet called Proton, I think. And I don't know too much about this, but I'm gonna try and tell you what I do know. I think he wants a better life, or he wants a different life, because like I said, he's a surf and a gamesman. And Style finds this curtain that he sneaks behind, and it takes him to this whole different world called Phase. And in Phase, magic rules. So I guess there was no magic on Proton, but there is magic in Phase. And so this is Style's experience. I don't know what to make of this because I hear such mixed reviews about Piers Anthony, but I am excited to read one of Piers Anthony's books and see what John loves so much about this series. Oh, before I forget, So I landed on a green space, which means I get to wipe one tally from my tallies. And because that was my third time landing on 7, I decided just to wipe one of the tallies off of 7. So even though it should be 3 tallies on number 7, it's only gonna be 2 because I got to land on a green and wipe off one of my tallies. Final punishment roll, still moving backwards. Hopefully I don't get a 10. Let's see where I'm going. Did I just manifest that? Oh no! I really am going really far back. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Not exactly at the beginning, but pretty darn close. And this is published prior to 2001, which was the year that I graduated high school. Spin number 3, my final backwards movement took me almost all the way back to the beginning of the game. I mean, of course, right? This is my punishment. This is what I get for not reading these books. So for the prompt, it was a book that was published before 2001. And I chose 2001 because that's the year that I graduated high school. So I thought that was appropriate for my whole school experience. And the book I've decided to go for with this is one that I never really thought about putting on a TBR in the past, but someone had mentioned it recently. I can't remember who, sorry. And I realized, oh my gosh, I loved the movie so much when I was a kid. It was such an important movie for my childhood that I should read the book, right? So I ended up deciding to go with The Neverending Story by Ende. And this is, if you've never seen Neverending Story, it's about this young boy named Bastian. He basically buries himself in books because he really struggles with social interactions with people because he's shy. He's shy and he would rather live his life in a book. So he finds this book called The Neverending Story and he starts reading it. He gets like really engrossed into it to where he's just picturing and visualizing everything. And it gets so realistic that he realizes he's actually becoming a part of the story. And in this story, the world of Fantastic is basically falling apart. And the goal is to get to the princess and save her in the palace or in the castle before the world falls apart because of this great nothing that's taking over. This has such nostalgic vibes for me. This was actually written in 1979, so it's definitely before 2001, and one that I didn't realize I wanted to read, but I do want to read. So I picked it up, and I really like the cover. This is like a mass market paperback, but I thought it was pretty cool. And this is actually a translated book by Ende, who is German. So this was originally written in German, and then it was translated by Ralph Mannheim. So I'm really excited about this one, and I can't wait to read it and then rewatch the movie, because I don't think I've seen the movie in years. So this is a great choice for book published before 2001. All right, and finally, some forward play, because I have been going backwards long enough. I better finish my books in February. Just put it that way, because I don't think I can go back any further. Let's see where I'm going for spin number 4. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Spain setting or element, and this is YA or younger. And I picked Spain setting or element because I did a little bit of study abroad in Spain, in Sevilla. And that was a wonderful, wonderful time. All right, spin number 4, I got to move forward, which was nice. And it looks like I'm gonna have to get another career again, which I've just realized this will be my 4th career. How ridiculous is that? But that will be next month. And I landed on Spain setting or element, which I realize now is kind of tricky. I was looking at this from a has to be middle grade or YA perspective, and it limits my options quite a bit. So this may not be the best prompt to be on this board, so I might change it eventually, but for now I'm gonna keep it because there is a book that is a YA that I want to read, which is called Marina by Ruiz. And I recently made Shell read it for her TBR, and based off her review, because it was like middle of the road for her, she wasn't crazy about it. I kind of thought it sounded like something that I would love. I do know that I loved Shadow of the Wind by Zafon, so I would love to try more of his other works. And so this one actually is about a 15-year-old boy named Oscar, and Oscar meets this girl named Marina, and they kind of start wandering around and they go to this cemetery. They witness like this macabre ritual that happens apparently every Sunday or something like that. And witnessing this and kind of experiencing it takes them into this different world, like a world of the past, post-war Spain. And I don't know much about it, but I do know it's gothic. There's some horror elements to it. And it sounds like my kind of book. Like it really, really does. I'm excited to read this. It's YA, so it works for being a YA, and it's set in Spain. It's set in Barcelona. And it's not too long, which is good because I got quite a few other longer books on this TBR. So I'm ready for this, and I have my fingers crossed that I love it. So that's it for my spins. Not too bad. I think I can do this. I've got this plus Marina, so that's not really that horrible. I know that this one's big, but this one I was gonna have to read anyways this month. So yeah, it's looking, so far this plus Marina, which is a smaller book, is looking fairly doable. But I do have some challenges and I do have other things I'm planning on doing. So like I said, the TBR video for my readathon is gonna be separate, and so keep an eye out for that. But let's talk about some of the challenges. So I do Buzzwordathon, and that's a challenge that's set up by Kayla from Booksandlala. I try to do this every month. And the theme for the month of March is locations. So I chose to go with Front Desk by Kelly Yang because this is one of my 5-star prediction books, and I kind of want to try to get as many of my 5-star prediction books into my TBRs as I can. So if you haven't checked it out, I will link it up here and down the description box below. This one, Front Desk, is a location. It's a location in any motel, which is what this is about. It's about this young girl. Her family is Chinese and they have immigrated to the US, and they have purchased a motel. And it's kind of about her experience growing up, coming of age sort of thing. But then also she wants to be a writer, so she has these great ambitions. And I can't wait to read it because it sounds fantastic. I do think this is gonna be a 5-star for me. I hope. I have just heard so many wonderful things about this. And it works well for Buzzwordathon. Next, Mel from Completely Melanie has this challenge called TBR Knockout, which basically means you're trying to get through your physical books. And that is one of my biggest goals for this year, is to get through my physical TBR. And so I was like, yeah, then I'm gonna be doing the TBR Knockout to work through these physical books that I own. So the first challenge for TBR Knockout is to read a book that has shapeshifting in it. And for that, I actually found out that the Neverending story has a character named Igramul, who is a shapeshifter. And so I don't remember who this character is because, like I said, it's been a very long time since I watched the movie. I don't even know if that character is in the movie. I'll find out when I read this and then rewatch the movie, but I'm excited because that does work. I was afraid I was gonna have to add another book to my TBR. The second TBR Knockout prompt for March is a book with magic in it. Simple enough, right? I'm gonna be reading A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is our March pick for the Bookstar read-along, so if you don't know anything about our All Souls read-along, I will link the announcement video up here and down the description box below so you can come join us. Come join us at any time. We're so excited about this. This is a pretty big book, so I'm a little nervous about getting this and Ship of Destiny done, and all the other books I plan on reading this month. I'm a little nervous about these, but it's gonna happen because this one's for the read along and I'm a host, so it has to happen. And this book is about this woman who is a witch or a descendant of witches. She summons this book that has to do with sorcery, which is what she doesn't want to get in the middle of. But by summoning that book, it kind of lets everybody like that is supernatural know that this book has been found, and they're all coming to see what they can find out from it, I guess. It's like there's like vampires, there's witches, there's sorcerers, there's all kinds of things that are coming to find out more about this book. And I'm really excited about this one. And this actually also works for the Book Cover Book Club. So it was kind of on a pause for a couple of months, but Book Cover Book Club is back. And the prompt for the month of March is a book that has texture on the cover. And I'm gonna go with this book because it has raised lettering. And I don't know if you can see that, but the lettering is raised. So I'm gonna say that's textured cover because I can feel it. It's got texture to it. So now that we found out all my challenges, all the books that I need to read so far for this month, let's find out what happens next in your journey. Let's check out the Vera prompt. We're starting off on biology element, which was the prompt for February. So let's see where you guys are gonna go. 10. All right, you guys are at a career card. Let's see what kind of career you're gonna get. I think we're gonna go with this one. Artist. All right, that's a great one. Perfect. So you have finished college, you are ready to go off into your career, and you're gonna become an artist. So I can't wait to see what choices you come up with. And of course, let me know in the comment section down below what book you choose for artist. And for this, you really need to go with just the essence of what an artist is. It could be a book that features an artist, or it could be a book based on a famous artist, or it could be a book that incorporates art in some way. Maybe there's illustrations. Like, it doesn't have to be specifically an artist as a protagonist. It can be anything that has something to do with art. Get creative. So I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. Actually, I'm going to give you 3 suggestions. One that's a middle grade, one that's a YA, and one that's an adult book. So for the middle grade book, I decided to go with The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wong, because this one is an amazing graphic novel that I absolutely loved last year. And the main character, well, one of the main characters is a dressmaker, and she becomes very artistic in the creations that she's making. It is very art focused when it comes to these dresses. And so I recommend that. It's a beautiful book, and hopefully you enjoy it. The second book I decided to go with is a YA contemporary, actually, and this was one that I was surprised that I ended up enjoying as much as I did. It's called Wanderlove by Kirsten Hubbard. And this is about a young girl who's just finished high school, but she's got a lot of things going on in her life, and she's an artist who hasn't created any art for a while because her life kind of went downhill. So she decides to go on this trip and travel to South America. And there are parts of this book where you see her illustrations that she's drawing while she's on this trip. And so not only do you visually get to see some of her art, you also get to hear about her experience and the process of finding herself again. So I enjoyed it way more than I expected to, and so I'll be interested to hear if any of you try to read it, and if you did, if you like it. Finally, for the adult option, I decided to go with a nonfiction book that I read last year that I ended up liking a lot, and it was The Lady from the Black Lagoon by Mallory O'Meara. And this is about a woman named Millicent Patrick, who was the creator of The Creature of the Black Lagoon. And you learn about her experience in a time when men dominated the art scene in Hollywood, and kind of how she was able to work her way up, but she kind of got lost because she did start taking acting positions because she kind of got blacklisted for reasons that are very chauvinistic. And it was a really good book. It was a really good nonfiction. It wasn't perfect, and there were some things that I would have liked a little differently. One of the things was that we don't have that much information on Millicent Patrick, so Mallory O'Meara really interjected a lot of her own experiences within the book because she's been so inspired by Millicent Patrick. So you get a lot of O'Meara's actual experience trying to find information on Patrick. So it's kind of like, this is my experience trying to find information, as well as the life and experience of Millicent Patrick, which I thought worked out. Occasionally it left a little to be desired, but ultimately this was a really good book, and I did enjoy it. I think I gave it at least a 4-star, and I recommend it because it's that old Hollywood feel, and it's an interesting nonfiction. Like, it's different than the other nonfictions I have read, so if you're not always into nonfiction, I think this might be a fun one for you to read. All right, so that's it for most of this video, but I will be doing Magda spins after this, so please stick around and check those out. And let me know in the comment section down below some of the books you're most excited to read in the month of March. I'm really excited to read Discovery of Witches. That is one that I have been wanting to read for a very long time. And of course, I'm excited to read Front Desk because this is one of my 5-star predictions. So, I mean, I'm excited for all of them. Ship of Destiny is a little daunting just because it's such a big book, but it's also the end of a series that I've been loving. So, like, this is a great TBR. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens in the month of March. I've got so many things going on that month that I'm really nervous about this TBR. I'm really nervous about it. And so stick around, click that subscribe button, and I will see you later. Thank you. Bye. All right, so let's get into Magda's spins. As far as her tallies go, she's got 1 spin for 3 and 8, and then she's got 2 on 4, 7, 9, and 10. So she's best to stick with 1, 2, 5, and 6. All right, and she ended up the last round on Goodreads winner, and she is way ahead of me on the board. Way ahead of me. So let's see if she finishes the game in this round. All right, where's Magda gonna go for spin number 1? 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And left will be 1 through 5. Right will be 6 through 10. Right, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thrift, a never heard of book. So you can interpret that however you want to, Magda. Maybe pick up an audiobook that you've never heard of, like just randomly choose one off of one of your accounts, not knowing anything going into it. And that is the prompt. Okay, so I'm editing this. It's almost done editing. And I realized that I screwed up Magda's spins big time. So I was supposed to go 9 spaces there. I went 10. 10 was supposed to determine which direction I went. So every other spin after this is going to be off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these in. I'm going to leave the spins that I did in, but I'm also going to tell Magda the spins that it should have been, so that if she wants to do those as well, because She has in the past when I've screwed up before. If you'd like to do the other spins as well, Magda, I'm going to give them to you as options. If you'd like to do those instead, I'm going to give those as options as well. So for spin number 1, it should have been my choice, meaning it would have been whatever you wanted to read, Magda. That is another option for spin number 1. Spin number 2. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Book card. Let's see what book card you're gonna get. Koi cup pick. All right, so Magda said that she would be interested in the picks that I get from my koi cup. And if she can't make it work, then she can choose randomly from her own TBR. We're gonna give the koi cup pick a chance and see if she gets anything that she likes. All right, here's my cute koi cup, my lucky koi cup. So these are all the ones I have on my physical TBR right now that I want to get to right away. The Light Between Oceans. Okay, so for Magda's second spin, we got Koi Cup pick, and I did end up pulling The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman from this one. So this is one that I've been looking forward to, and it's about this man and his wife who are living on this lighthouse because he is manning the lighthouse, and it's a very isolated place. There's nobody around them. Very rarely do supplies get delivered to them. And at one point, a boat, I think, comes up on shore of this lighthouse, and there's a dead man in the boat and a baby that's alive. And the wife has had so many problems with miscarriages and many issues with trying to have a family that they end up deciding to keep the baby. And it's a very difficult choice because they don't know whose baby this is. They don't know where it came from. They only know that there was a dead man, and they decide to completely lie about the fact that this is not their child. And I don't know if it's going to come back and bite them in the end or what, but this is basically the story from there. And so it sounds very interesting to me. It sounds very compelling. I imagine it's going to be a hard-hitting book. Spin number 2 should have been a spinner wheel, and that would have been genre, which would have been nonfiction. So spin number 2 should have been a nonfiction book. All right, let's see where Magda's going to go with spin number 3. That is right on the edge. Let's try it again. 1. Okay, translated book. Spin number 3 should actually have been a book card pick. So let's see what book card you end up with now, Magda. An unread book from your previous TBR. Do you have any unread books from previous TBRs, Magda? I know that there was a month that you didn't finish your TBR. Would this work for that? This is an option. Otherwise, you can just skip this and go with the prompt that was in the game, translated book. Let's go with spin number 4. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Art or a book sent by the author or publisher. Now, I don't know if you have a NetGalley account, Magda, but you can always check on NetGalley. They definitely have audiobooks. Or you can change this prompt to make it work however you need to. And spin number 4 should have been the 5 Senses box, which is basically the boxes that I get from Authentic Books. And Magda actually has a connection to these people. But the only book that I have from Authentic Books that you have on your TBR that you haven't read yet, Magda, is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. So if you'd like to read It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey, that is an option. All right, and what could very well be the 5th and final roll for Magda this month. Roll number 5. 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you landed on spinner prompt, and it has a G, so it's genre. And that is 9 dark green. So we've got YA fantasy. Good way to end this out. So spin number 5 should have been What Are They Reading? So I've got my booktuber jar here, and we're gonna see what booktuber is an option for you, Magda, that you can go check out their favorite books. And this is Naomi's Bookshelf. So actually, you can go check out Naomi's 2021 favorite books, best books, or I think that Naomi gave you some suggestions last month for one of the booktuber friend picks. So maybe go check out the ones that she gave you last time. Maybe that will work for you. But yeah, Naomi's Bookshelf, that'll be a possibility for the 5th roll. All right, so those are all of Magda's spins. Doesn't seem too difficult. I felt like this was a pretty easy month for you, Magda. Hopefully you feel the same. And Magda will let us know what books she chooses for her TBR. And when she does, she'll comment in the comment section down below and I will pin it so it's the first comment that comes up. So keep an eye on that. See what Magda's going to choose for these spins. I can't wait to hear what she ends up choosing. And thank you so much for watching.